Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Comes to you live from our comfy couch here in the Oscars, and it's the Gaming Salute Reviews for February 2nd, 2025 with your host, Spaceburger2448, and wrap it up, Salon.
I almost had the TGS card on there instead of the drive one.
We get to review a movie this week. A really good movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. It kind of is nice to have the solo movies that, actually could mean something in the series, but also could stand alone on their own and not matter.
Yeah, even though all I swear I hear people talk about from this movie is, oh, that ghost cameo just isn't in canon. That ghost is so much cooler than regular Takaru. And I'm like,
nothing pertaining to Ghost outside of the show is canon.
Can we talk about anything except for that literal minute and change fight scene?
Because yes, time-wise, no, he wouldn't be Ghost at the moment.
No. Absolutely not. In fact, you know the icon that's above his head for like 90% of the fight?
Mm-hmm.
That's technically Necrom's logo. They repurposed it into Necrom's. Like when he does his finisher.
That could imply all kinds of things then.
I mean, my headcanon has always been, oh, this is technically a Takaru from the future traveling back in time via, I don't know, heroic icon's powers to help out. That this is an influx Takaru because of timey-wimey shenanigans. Look, we literally have a paradox going on in the movie. Who's to say that this Takaru isn't actually Takaru, just from a different timeline?
Well, wait a minute. that actually could be.
I will also point out, he never takes his hood off in Ore form. But Takaru in series always takes his hood off in Ore form.
Yeah, that's always the first thing he does.
Yep, he never takes it off in this fight.
And before anyone's like, well, you would have to have a reasoning for him going back to the past. We kind of actually do within the movie, but actually no, we don't, because look at Gotchard.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Look, we have a paradox going on at the moment. Time is kind of getting a fucking. So who's to say this Takaru is just not from an alternate timeline? That's just here to help for a hot minute and then piss off. Because, by the way, it's also Takaru's actor voicing Ghost in this. He's just uncredited in the movie because the press conference hadn't happened yet. But it is Takaru.
It's Takaru from an alternate dimension where Ghost was actually good.
It's Takaru from a bad end timeline because he's actually dead, like fully dead.
I kind of like the way I just said it, actually, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because that feels more on point with what we would need out of this.
Yeah, he's also like very no fucks given Takaru. He's like, he is barely trying to fight, and he is kicking this Roid mute's ass halfway up and down that street.
And that's something else too that I got to thinking about during that fight. We kind of get the whole, it has to be like powers destroying the villains for the writer shows, because we're kind of in that phase.
Yeah.
The way Takaru defeats the Roid Mute actually is fully in canon, because he would technically be using the vehicle that has the shift car in it to destroy him.
Yep.
Meaning he followed that.
Also, as a note, he is clearly visible to Kiriko and Oda the entire fight, which is something that does not happen in the canon of the show. Because bear in mind, he is supposed to be invisible to everybody when he's fighting.
I thought we had some instances where when he was in form, then he could be visible.
Right, after he got hit with the sparkle dust that one of his mates came up with. Then he could be visible, but until he got hit by that dust, him and the Genma were invisible. I think that carries forward into the Drive episodes. Or episode. Because Tamari can't see Takaru fight.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've even touched Ghost that I'm like,
Fair. I remember odd details, so that's the only reason I remember that, where I'm like, look, a lot of things don't add up in this cameo because they probably were in late pre-production and had not finalized things. And I'm sure other people can be like, well, other shows, their cameos line up. And I'm like, yeah, probably because they were further along in production and probably had a stronger idea of what the show was be, which probably means Ghost had some changeovers. Hell, we have instance of Saber being a completely different show in pre-production before COVID happened. It would not surprise me. Ghost was a completely different show at one point when they did the surprise feature cameo, and then they changed it. Because they had a few months to change things. But yeah, as you can guess, folks, we're looking at Surprise Future, Drive solo film that I forgot to write down the release date for. So they usually write down the release dates for the movies. August 5th, 2015 in theaters, January 6th, 2016 on DVD and Blu-ray. Riku Sanjo is still writer. Director is Takayuki Shibasaki. And for continuity, folks, this is between 40 and 41, so technically we're an episode behind where this should be. Also, the Chase v Cinema takes place after this movie, and apparently explains where Chase was for like the back end of this movie, besides being unconscious. And of course, the Ghost continuity stuff we touched on already.
Yeah, it's not. Because nothing the Ghost is in outside of his own stuff is in continuity with anything.
I was about to say, it's not even... I think the only movie that I feel like I talked about this already, but I feel like one of the Hazel Generation movies has continuity issues, but the other one doesn't, I think. Oh, well. Anyway, any thoughts going into the movie?
No.
All right, then kick off. It is the night of August 5th. A black, I forget what this is. This is a Mercedes, but I forget the exact model of it. But a fancy Mercedes drives down a building, and we have a black Kamen Rider. This is Dark Drive, or technically Drive, because of plot reasons we'll get to later. He has arrived through the Time Road, which is a means by which to time travel in the future. One of several, if you pay attention to this franchise. He sends out 3 of his shift cars, which are black in colored repaints of 3 of our regular shift cars. They are Builder, which I believe is technically Technique. Yeah, it's technically Technique. Deco Traveler, and Hunter. I just realized it's odd that one of them is actually a form change. A regular form change one. And then the other 2 are assists, like tire change ones. And also only one of them was ever seen in show. And also, as a weird note, 2/3 of them are associated, or like Technique in an associated shift car. One of them is a speed associated shift car because weird dumb thing. If you look at the shift cars, how the tires are done means you can see which of the tire change shift cars are associated with the main form change. All the speed ones have regular tires, all the wild ones have big tires, and then all the technique ones have 6 tires. And then I think all the Formula ones have small tires. Anywho, the 3 of them go and hijack vehicles, and they are technically being piloted by blank roid mutes. Although Deco has 2 roid mutes in it instead of 1. I love that the wiki summary says that 2 shift cars possess the vehicle, and I'm like, no, only 1 vehicle possesses it. There's just 2 roid mutes pop out of the vehicle. But because for reference, the duo that they hijack the vehicle from in this movie are a famous comedic duo, which is why they get screen time. It happens. Anyway, the next day, Tamari has a little letter that Krim has told him not to open until the 8th because it's important. We'll find out later that that's apparently the first day Tamari got reassigned to the Special Crimes Unit and got given the Trideron. And when Krim first tried to talk to him as the ghost in the car, anyway, the 3 of them respond to a roid mute that's gone berserk as a big giant bat one. Tamari takes it down, gets it on the ground, and is going to hit it with the trailer cannon. Krim is going to like narrow the field on it because they're next to, I think, like a power plant of some kind. It's where they landed. But that's when Tamari Eiji shows up, aka Shinosuke's son from the future, who tells him to not fire, and then Krim goes berserk and then fires anyway and destroys the roid mute in a bunch of the buildings nearby. He eventually like pulls Tamari away because Dark Drive shows up, fights Tamari for a bit, loses, which it might just be me, but doesn't Dark Drive fight like Tamari?
Kind of, yeah.
Something about like him reverse gripping the sword. I'm just like, Tamari does that a lot with the steering sword. Granted, Dark Drive sword is actually a repaint of the brake gunner that's just in black with, I think, just a copy of the steering sword's blade bolted on top of it, which is also why it produces the same brake gunner shooting sound effects. But yeah, eventually Eiji picks up Tamari and they leave. Unfortunately, Tamari is now wanted by the police for collateral damage at the plant, and the cops have been deployed to arrest him. Krim is also not feeling too good. He's feeling kind of going berserk and going a bit evil because I believe a couple episodes before this movie, Bono put a chip inside Krim that would make him go berserk. While they're on the run, Eiji is getting snacks for Tamari, and Tamari sees what the future is. The future is the roid mutes are under control, and Krim is leading the charge with Dark Drive at his right-hand man. And Tamari, to his credit, doesn't believe a single bit of this. He thinks something is up, something is wrong, and then Eiji pours it on of like, oh, I only have this left of my dad, and it just so happens to be a burned version of the tie he's currently wearing. And then he pours it on as well. It's like, oh, my dad died when I was really young. To try to get Eiji, or try to get Tamari to work with him. So eventually Tamari and Krem decide to go with him. Unfortunately, SWAT kind of forced the situation, which is the first time we see the key to the Trideron. And I love that they have to drop in the line of like, by the way, Tamari, all my combat data is in the key. just sending up the death flag and being like, well, we're gonna kill Grim, and this is how we're gonna bring him back, by the way. But they escape in the Trideron, which takes us to the next day where Edgy's at a power plant stealing electricity, trying to fix Grim. Unfortunately, Dark Drive shows up and immediately puts a bullet in his chest. And that is Edgy dead, and Tamari is furious. Chase eventually shows up because he's had to talk with the roid mutes before this, going, are you all pulling some shit? And all three of them are like, nope, nope, nope. This isn't our plot. And Chase is like, fine, I'll leave. So him and Go are fighting Dark Drive and the arriving like Technique shift car possessed vehicle, which is a giant piece of construction equipment that moves stuff, I guess, which is why it has the two arms. Chase tries to fight with the ride crosser, fails, almost gets shredded. Drive and Go have at it at Dark Drive. Manages to defeat him, but then Drive goes out of control after he saves Chase, and Chase gets to have the big fun action scene of ride boosters connected to the ride crosser. The ride boosters shred the arms while he uses the axe to literally cleave the vehicle in two. Once more proving Chase is amazing and wonderful. When he gets to be just a Terminator. But yeah, Drive tries to kill Mock because Crim's in control since they're in Trideron. But eventually, Tamari gets enough control, rips the belt off, and then punches it, which sends the two of them in opposite directions. And Chase's axe is nearby, and Tamari's like, well, we've got one option here, and I gotta kill you, Crim. And Crim's like, yep, cleave me in half. And Chase, probably being a bit sensible, is like, Tamari, are you sure this is the right option? Are you sure about this? And Tamari does so he cleaves Crim in half, and the driver is completely destroyed. Only for Edgy to get up, give him a golf clap, and be like, bravo, you took yourself out of the equation. By the way, Dark Drive has a remote pilot mode, and I've been playing you the whole time because I'm not your kid. I've roided you that marked him and stole his shit. So then he tries to kill Tamari. Chase blocks the shot for him and then passes his mock driver with his signal bike. I guess assuming Tamari could use it? I'm not sure what Chase's plan was besides, you need a belt, here's mine.
I think that was the whole plan. There was, you need belt, here's mine.
You should be able to turn into my suit, right? That works.
I was Drive once. Your Drive. It should be fine.
I would think you would pass him the proto speed shift car to be like, you can use this to turn into like a proto like drive with the mock driver.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do something like that.
Yeah. But at this point, after this, or while this is happening, the Countsman, I guess, I thought he was like chief of police or something, continues to like hammer in that they needed to bring Tamari in since he's wanted.
I just thought of something else too.
What?
Granted, we know there is a flaw with this, so it wouldn't be a long-term thing, but why didn't he ever use dead heat? He actually can transform straight into dead heat.
You say that, and then I'm remembering that the start of the Ghost movie does exactly that.
I just happened to think about that, and I'm like, I never put much thought to that, but yeah, there is a form that he fully could have used.
because Krim has the shift car, Krim or not Krim. Go has the car, and Go didn't have time to pass it to him.
They've been able to let it go between them.
Fair. I guess they didn't want to do that. They wanted to do the thing we get to eventually.
I mean,
which
makes more sense, to be fair.
Which feels like once more one of those. Here's a nice little parallel to A to Z, because there's a couple of those in this movie. Anyway, the night of the 7th, Tamari opens the letter from Krim and heads out. And this is where we get to a warehouse full of cars and stuff. As Krim, via recording, tells him, hey, I knew you'd come early, so here's a recording telling you about it. So basically, Krim has a original drive pit that is just a warehouse full of cars and stuff, like fancy antique collector cars. And he's basically willed it all to Tamari. Like, here, this is all yours now. Which, just gonna put that out there. Tamari is basically set for life if he sells even like half that collection. I can guarantee you.
I mean, yeah. Granted,
Tamari,
half that collection also gets destroyed here in like 30 more seconds, but...
Yeah. But like, Tamari, if you did not want to work another day in your life and be like a private detective or something, you just sell that collection, because
we already have a writer that does that.
Fair.
Sorry, couldn't help that one.
Or better yet, since edgy is a thing later down the timeline, Mari, his college fund is right there in that warehouse. Sell those cars, your kid can go to any college in Japan, probably. Money would no longer be an option. Which makes me think, maybe that's what... Doesn't it feel like Kiriko just becomes a stay-at-home mom later down in like some of the later material? Is that what happened? Tamari sold the cars and then like Kiriko decided, oh, one of us has to be like at home with the kid. I'll be at home with the kid since we're set and we don't need two incomes anymore.
I could see that.
Anywho, Kiriko also shows up. Is just happy Tamari is not dead again. Bear in mind, this is already after the first time he's died. Unfortunately, Dark Drive shows up and starts shooting up the warehouse, revealing the Proto-Trideron, which, as it turns out, is a piece of shit. It is falling apart, and Tamari is lucky it does not kill him, as it gets basically shot apart. But it doesn't dump him on a random road where the Deco Traveler, Royd Muse, tried to kill him. He tries to turn into Chase's rider form. Doesn't work. Then he remembers the Trideron key and goes, this looks like it can slot in here. I'm going to slam it in here and hope for the best. And when he does, he gets to beat Super Dead Heat, which is basically the Machine Chaser base suit with a kind of like half and half, kind of like busted up drive helmet that more or less is this movie's equivalent of Joker from A to Z, because it don't do a whole lot, and Tamari has to try real hard to fight people in it.
Yeah.
But he does take out one of the Roid Mutes. Kiriko, meanwhile, heads back to the police station, shows all the evidence of the Roid Mute in charge and all the plans and stuff. And the chairman's like, nobody would believe this story. And Kiriko's like, I don't give a fuck. Call off the wantedness for Tamari, or I will have words with you, and they will not be pretty. Because she has had it up to here this entire movie. Especially when Tamari is like, I can't clear my name. We got to take out this Roid Mute, or else, the world's going to be frozen forever. But yeah, as Tamari's taking on the other Roid Mute, the cops show up and support him, and he heads off in a police car, which I find unintentionally funny that you have this big, bulky like crap drive suit driving this regular ass police car as everyone salutes him and sees him off. This is also where the Ghost cameo happens, because Ghost takes out the other Roid Mute from Deco Traveler as Kiriko and Oda watch and are like, oh, another rider. Well, he helped and then poofed. Cool. Kiriko's off to go help. Tamari heads to where the Roid Mute was trying to get to, which is basically where his past self, because he is Roid Mute 108, his past self was sealed because he was a problematic Roid Mute, basically. So he has gone back in time to this specific day because a big lightning strike will happen, and that will power on his past self. So his past self and his future self will fuse together, create a, ultimate evolution gold form that will let him basically put the entire world on pause forever. Which I don't know how much the other Roid Mutes would be on board with that plan.
I mean,
because I was
looking at it that way, it kind of makes you wonder why the other three weren't here to be like, yeah, about that, no.
I'm sorry, that was not a part of the plan. There was a reason we put you in a box. Because I always felt like the Roid Mutes didn't like him. We will go do what we need to achieve our goals, but you're too much in the box. But the movie doesn't say anything about that, honestly, so I don't know. But yeah, Tamari tries to fight 108 as Dark Drive, fails, gets beaten up. 108 gets powered on. At that point, the future 108 just discards the Dark Drive stuff. It's like, fuck, I don't need this bullshit anymore. Becomes the Paradox Roid Mute. This is when Go shows up, gives him, I think his signal bite, because he's in dead heat, I think, for this fight.
Yep.
Tries to fight Paradox, loses. Tamari finally putting things together with like, wait a minute. If lightning can strike once, it can strike twice. The Trident key plus the future driver can revive Krim. So he gets the help from Speed, Wild, and Technique that lift the belt up. Lightning strikes it, key goes in the belt, Krim's back. So the two of them fight Paradox for a bit until Paradox activates his Eternal Global Freeze, puts everything on pause. But while this is happening, Kiriko has the Dark Drive shift car, technically the next shift car. And thankfully, it's two-sided because there's a yellow side to it. And with Mad Doctor's help, she's been modifying it for Tamari to use. And thankfully, he gets it. And this lets him henshin with, a hologram of his son and fuse the current and future drives into drive-type special. And it has enough power to basically run through Paradox. I am only sad that the Rider Kick that uses the next Strider on is not Tamari three-dimensionally bouncing around kicking the Roid Mute. He just kicks him with a giant ball of energy that is created by the Trideron.
Yeah, I am kind of a little sad on that one too.
If this is supposed to be the future drive, the future Rider Kick should be the three-dimensionally bouncing around the orb, kicking the Roid Mute.
Yeah.
I are sad. Oh well. But Paradox is blown up. Both 108s are destroyed. Kind of, I guess, resetting the timeline. So Edgy's not dead, technically. I guess. We're not going to worry about those implications. But Shinosuke kind of takes from what little truth 108 had, because the only things I think 108 confirmed that he lied about was that Krim was the one leading the Roid Mute invasion, and that I think the future was dark. I forget the other thing he said. It's like, oh yeah, those two were lies. Everything else I said was true. And I go, I don't believe you. I think you're fully lying. But Tamari figures out, it's like, oh, Edgy's mom is Kiriko, because of course she was. And he kind of chuckles at that, and the two of them poke fun at each other. And then credits roll, and we get a little behind the scenes stuff for the movie as the credits roll. So, how'd you feel about Surprise Future?
It was good. I'm kind of in my not really following Gav too hard, so it's always been good for us to kind of keep going back to Drive stuff.
Yeah. Having like this, and let's just go back to a writer show we've already been to, is nice if we are in a writer show that's not great.
Yeah.
And maybe isn't holding our interest. Because I have watched Boom Booger for this week. I have not watched Gap for this week, and Boom Booger has one episode before its finale. That shows you how much more invested I'm in the current Shintai show that's ending than I am the current writer show that's like a quarter of the way done. Or halfway done, actually. But yeah, I do like how much a rewatch of the movie, you start to see all of the little things 108 does to like twist Tamari and like get him to work for him, because he isolates Tamari away from the crew the entire movie. Especially because I feel like Rina could have solved this whole chip issue in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But yet he keeps Tamari away from Rina, away from the entire crew, so that his plan can work and he can force Tamari to kill Grim. Which ends up being a nice parallel for the end of the show, where Go kills Bono in the exact same way. I'm actually surprised. I actually wonder if we ever get like a big fancy signal axe and like a driver, they'll put in audio for this like they did for the Bono driver. Because the Bono driver actually responds to the signal axe for you to recreate the finale, which is hilarious. I end up liking Type Special, and I do like that the movie does say that, like, yeah, Dark Drive is an Dark Rider for this movie, but it's not really. It is just Drive of the Future, and Special is just a fusion of the two. Makes me kind of wish, hey, we have Aqua from the future. We have Drive of the Future. Can we get a little side special, the two of them, please? Just for me, for no other reason, just because I want it in these two movies I like. Also, I 100% headcanon that the entire reason he's called Edgy is because Tamari knows Edgy Hino. And something happened between the two of them to make him go, no, I'll name my kid after that one guy. I like him. That feels
see that.
It feels way too purposeful that he's Edgy Tamari. And the only other Edgy Tamari would probably know is Edgy Hino. I'm like, there's that connection there, especially because this movie is written by Riku Sancho, who, wrote Double, and he's written a little bit of O's. So it feels like a nod, especially because, again, this is our second, instead of a blue and white future writer, we have a blue and black future writer. Just saying. Anywho, I guess any other thoughts?
No.
All right, then in 2 weeks, we'll be back to regular Drive episodes as we work our way towards the finale and then the 3V cinemas. Those V cinemas are going to be a treat. I can feel it. But between now and then, Thursday, I continue CAD as we tried to build the rabbit half of the rabbit tank build cami. Taking the rabbit back to the drawing board. I didn't end up with I wasn't happy with where I was ending off with the rabbit cami. A certain comment on it made me go, yeah, yeah, I need to rethink this. Can you guess what the comment said this looked like?
Yeah, probably should rethink that one.
It's an Among Us, is what they said. You could probably go worse than that, to be perfectly honest. It also doesn't help that I don't know what feet this damn thing has. I only get from the waist down, or from the waist up, on what this half the cami looks like in the art. And to be honest, there's not a lot of detail. The only details is on the face and the helmet, and that's it. Everything else is blank. He is basically a cartoon character. But yeah, that's Thursday. Friday,
Ridercraft,
right? Hopefully, the mod, it doesn't give us too much trouble on any sort of bugs or anything, since it's still technically in alpha. If we want to go to the new update,
they've all been in alpha, so we're good.
Okay. And then Saturday is us trying to route out Odyssey co-op. See how best we can figure out how to do it, since we have a better grasp of how world states update.
Yeah.
I feel like all of our routing is going to depend entirely on like world states, really,
and
on like
who
how
can pull
best.
what. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that might also be what's crashing us at the beginning.
Yes.
I think what needs to happen is we need to both be in Cascade when that first moon's grabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Which may mean that either you're going to have to get better, or I'm going to have to sandbag, is going to be the two things that we're going to have to look at. And probably me sandbagging because of the weird lag that you're getting.
Yeah. I've wondered if you could do something with the world states to get me closer to getting to certain world peace things, or I can update the world to specific states to get you access to other moons that would be faster to get because the world state changed.
I don't think so in that aspect of it, because I was gonna say I don't think so in sand, but sand and metro are really the only two that we're constant in.
Mm-hmm.
I was far enough ahead of you in lunch, and so I would have been the one changing the world state anyhow.
Yeah.
Granted, depending on when you enter lunch in, I could skip some of the quicker moons and just focus on the world peace stuff and let you do moon cleanup.
Yeah. I was mainly thinking of like Metro, where I'm like, okay, we have access to more moons after Wiggler boss fight than before Wiggler boss fight. If we can force the world state for both of us to be after Wiggler, it'd be easier for one of us to grab moons while the other one is doing festival. If that ends up being a case.
I mean, that would be the way that it would have actually worked out had you not been sitting inside the sub area and we didn't know that that would cause problems.
Right.
Now that we know that causes problems, as long as you're not in a sub area, that would actually do that.
Mm-hmm. Desert, the only problem is that any percent goes no, like you don't need enough moons to actually get anywhere near the pyramid.
The only thing I can think of with sand, if I get there before you, I might could start pushing some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never be there before you. Not with the way we would wind up trying to do Cascade. Because
Yeah.
I'd still be sitting in cutscenes while you're actually getting to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's going to take some thought on that.
Yeah, because the only other thing I'm thinking about is desert is that whoever is clearing it, the other person needs to be out of desert before, because I think you have access to less moons when the world state changes, right?
Yeah, but the world state doesn't change until you defeat Harriet.
Right. So
I can do any percent route for sand within like a few minutes. So I mean, you would basically be booking it, getting pyramid clip and everything to even have a shot on changing the state before I'd be able to get out of there.
Yeah, but
so I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, just putting it out there of like, this is something we need to worry about.
Yeah.
And the 1% chance likelihood that it could be a thing.
Like I said, I think the only way that I would have any worry on that would be if you learned pyramid skip and did that. Then we would definitely have to sit down and think about that, because yeah.
I assume pyramid skip is skipping Harriet and going straight to Olmec.
No, it is breaking into the inverted pyramid early. So basically not climbing the tower and getting that one and not doing the moon shards.
Okay.
It is quicker. And I think it is easier on 1.0, which is how the online one runs. But it's not easy.
I can imagine, because
actually you wouldn't even have a shot at it. It'd have to be me doing it anyhow, because it involves being able to shake the controller too. Because it's like a ground pound, tap, throw, cancel kind of roll into the door. So there's I don't think there's a physical way that you'd be able to unless you mapped everything.
Yeah, the only clip I know of, and I forgot how it's even accomplished, is the Sphinx clip. The clip through Sphinx to get his moon without having to answer his questions.
I think with that, don't you do it through that underground area where I get the one moon anyhow?
I believe so. I think it is done in that little area you go into the sand and pop out of.
And I think it's a ground pound cancel too.
Because I think the sub areas are like next to each other in some capacity that lets you clip from one and the other.
Yeah.
And once you have the moon, you can exit out because Sphinx out of the way. I at least remember that being the way. It has been a while since I've seen an Odyssey run, so I don't know how dumb things look now. Because before, there was no clips, and then there was clips. Because before, I think the only real trick was like moon skip at first. And then people figured out the clips and stuff, and now the route's completely different from how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
Anywho, that is Saturday. Next Sunday will be TGS. We'll talk shop about multiverses and God knows what else. We're still a ways out from Pokemon Day, which would be the next big thing at the moment, until apparently a state of play is possibly going to happen. I can't wait for it to be a disappointment. And like I said, in 2 weeks, we'll pick back up with Drive some more. So if you like what you're seeing, folks, drop a follow. Really appreciate it. Exclamation point social and chat gives you the handles for all of our social links. And exclamation point Discord and chat gives us a link. Drop by, say hi. See you Thursday, folks.